Join us at the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention, March 23rd through 26th. We'll be at booths 1113 and 1114, decked out in cosplay, selling the latest Angel of Death merch. Tickets are available via the link in the description. Hope to see you there.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode this week of The Composition of Imagination. As always, I'm your host and author Stevie Jo, and these are my amazing book guardians, Tasha and Jason. And we have been talking about, well, we've been celebrating rather, Angel of Death and its second publication anniversary. So it was my debut novel 2 years ago, and in March. And we last week spent some time talking about the origin of it, and now we're talking about archetypes and character development. That way we can kind of dive into the actual characters that you have fallen in love or hate with.
So obviously, we live around here without any love for Aezra, except when there's a wooden stake involved.
Yeah. Which does happen in book 4. Thank God. Yeah.
But that being said, you know, everybody's like, oh, Elias is so great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at some point he probably did a whole lot of stuff, and I want to say book 3 and I think book 4, they really you really allude to the fact that he did some really despicable things back in the day. Yeah. Yeah. And yet everybody's still, oh, Elias is so good and stuff because of how he treats Sky. Did you want everybody to have that feeling for those characters in particular, like Aezra? Now we go ahead and just put him up on the stake and fry him. And Elias, oh, we don't care about his past. He's cool. We need to let him keep going. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. I loved Elias from the moment I created him. And I thought, well, I mean, yeah, he's going to have a shady past, but, I mean, come on, look at him.
Even the author.
And that, yes.
The author.
Yes, I fawn over him. Literally, when I write him, I get that goofy grin on my face. And I'm like, Elias is in this chapter now.
But you even said you kind of painted him after your husband, after my brother.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's kind of like...
And to your point of what you just said about doesn't everybody have a shady past, Skylar even brings that up in the third book, in Veiled Commandments. Aezra has approached her because he's, you know, being his little piece of shit self. And he's like, Sky, Eli can't give you what I can. That's always his, like, what he thinks is his trump card.
Oh, that
he's
was
like,
4th book, too.
Oh, yeah.
He literally uses the same line in both books. No, he does,
because he thinks that she is blind and can't see. He thinks that Aezra thinks that magic has blinded her, that Elias is using some kind of illusion. But Elias has said that it doesn't work that way with magic. But the point that I'm making is that Skylar even tells Aezra, listen, I've got dark shit from my past too that he doesn't know about. Yeah. Why do I need to know every dirty little secret he has? Like, I don't care. The point is who he is now. Yeah. And that's really also reflected, going to Aezra, that is reflected in Veiled Commandments when Lilith comes. That's his old flame, you know, from a long time ago, and she's like still madly in love with him. He loves her, maybe not madly, but loves her. And there's points from 3 and 4 where Aezra's just kind of, and going forward, where Aezra just kind of is like, Lilith knew me as I was, and she sees me how I was. She's not loving me for who I am now, like he thinks Skylar should. But that's a whole other thing. But that goes to the same point where Skylar's so insistent on the past doesn't matter, but Aezra's like, well, gee, why can't I get a girl like that? You know? And so I didn't intend to have Aezra so deeply hated.
Really though?
I wanted him to kind of have some redeeming qualities, but I couldn't put them in there because of the situations he got into. So I kind of was like, well, whatever happens, happens. He's just gonna be the villain. And I have to have, because you've got Peyton as Skylar's foil, you've got Cordelia as kind of a foil herself to Skylar. James serves the same purpose, because while Cordelia and James are not necessarily people's favorite characters, and they don't have all the redeeming qualities, they're at least not quite as despicable as Aezra.
Okay. I question that a little bit.
Really?
I think Cordelia is on the same level.
Really?
Yes, because of the experiments that she is currently conducting in book 4, and more than likely probably toward the tail end of 3, that we know of, and that goes all the way back to whatever she was working on before the incident.
Yeah.
And her attitude toward not only the creatures, but how she goes about getting the cure shows she really doesn't care how she gets it. You know, she will extract the cure any way, shape, or form, and doesn't care who she goes through to get it. So in my opinion, she's just as despicable as Aezra. Aezra's lived longer, so he knows better. And he's just lazy.
I kind of put Cordelia, like, I agree with you. I don't think Cordelia is quite as bad as Aezra. Yeah. I don't like writing her. I like writing her less than I like writing Aezra, because at least with Aezra, I can put him through hell and torture him, and he still survives and crawls back out of the pit and goes on his way, and I can do it all over again. But with Cordelia, I have to be really careful, because everything about her is so calculated and so precise. So I can't have quite as much fun with her until maybe book 6 or so, but I can't have quite as much fun with her right now. But I feel like she has some redemption, because she does love Peyton and she does love Noel.
But she doesn't love Sky. She absolutely despises her, and it's all because of the incident.
But if
every parent has a favorite child,
exactly,
they like
it doesn't matter. You love your children no matter what.
If you recall in The Good Shepherd, when Sky shows up at the lab and Noel is Delia, you need to sign this divorce paperwork. I'm not leaving until you do. And Sky does it, and then she's like, hey, can we talk about the incident for a sec? Because I'm starting to wonder it didn't happen how we thought it happened. Cordelia does make a little bit of an effort to at least hear what the question could be. And then she kind of wants to go out and come back in to try again. She throws her little tantrum. She goes out, takes a breath, looks back in the window to try to come back in, but then gets jealous because Noel has always showed Sky more affection. It also is telling that Noel believes that Cordelia knows what he knows, in that Skylar is not actually part of their family. They don't actually have memories of her.
Right.
But she doesn't want to share that. So that's why I give her a little more grace than Aezra, because Aezra knows. He knows what's happening. He knows what he's doing is wrong, and he's still choosing to be an asshole about it. And so he's not redeemable.
So Aezra was in Merlance when the incident happened?
No, I'm just saying he knows what he's doing.
I was going to say he's probably got access to people who took part in the incident.
He does, but he's not focused on that right now.
He's never focused on that.
He's focused on one thing, because he's a one-track minded idiot. Whereas on the flip side of that, Elias is like, listen, I've been around just as long as you have, and I know what it's like to do that, because Elias has probably used that tactic before.
Yeah.
But he has shifted. So I think that's the big difference between the two of them and how I wanted readers to feel, is because Elias has shown that he's grown. And unfortunately, that growth was halted by fear, which is why he hasn't acted on his affection for Skylar, because he's afraid. Whereas Aezra has learned nothing and refuses to learn anything and just wants to keep trekking the path.
I was going to say, Angels in Heaven.
Yes.
Okay, you introduce the characters and everything, you know, they're very angelic. And as these books have progressed, they've shown a lot of traits that I would venture to say would not be considered very angelic.
Yeah.
I understand you wanting to introduce the gray area. Was it more of just introducing the gray area, or was it actually your take on angels is yes, for when they're being professional, they look like what you would expect an angel to be, but rip off that professionalism, you really see who they are, and they're really just like humans, only they're angels.
It's more of the latter. My view, this goes back to the origin videos, where my view of heaven, this is all just my whole, like, this is what I think it would be like. And the angels that are involved in heaven they have a task to do. They have divine purposes. They have divine rule to follow. Their whole goal, according to fate, is to fulfill that divine purpose. Not necessarily by any means necessary, but more like in the way that an angel would. Just like in hell, their divine purpose needs to be fulfilled how a dark angel would. It's not,
I think it's funny how you use that. It's like, dark angel has to follow the dark path. And
not necessarily, but that's what fate has lined up for them.
That we know of. Because, up to book 4, Lucian is kind of MIA. And
so is Genesis.
I was going to say, the chiefs are not there. So you've got the lieutenants on both sides sitting there trying to figure things out. And I think it's interesting that Hope, up to book 4, she starts out, I was really good. I did this. I was awesome. I deserve this. This. And as the books have progressed, she's really kind of turned into a valley girl.
And she's become very self-involved.
Yeah.
Her motivations are no longer really that of the betterment of the kingdom of heaven and the 3 realms, and more of the betterment of hope. So I did that because I want to show I am a sucker for a good bad guy. And so I wanted to show that even though we have this what I'm calling fate, but it's like the overarching ideology that angels are always going to be good and only do good things, and devils and all that are going to always do bad things. I don't believe that that's true. And I wanted to show that even the most altruistic and pure of heart can be corrupted into something of self-interest, because let's face it, people in general, not just in heaven or in alt uni where this takes place, but in general in our real world, they view self-interest as a bad thing if you're being too involved in it. So I wanted to show how that evolves and potentially give someone a reason to be able to bounce back and go back the other way, so that it's like this cyclical thing. So I do not believe for a second, sorry everybody, I guess, that angels in heaven are that valiant and good. I believe because they came from imperfect people, that they remain somewhat imperfect even in their angelic form. There is no erasing that. Even though you may erase their memories of what it's like to be mortal or anything like that.
I almost get the feeling you got the 3 realms, and at some point down the pipe, you're gonna have major battle. Because you feel the battle lines. I almost want to say and wonder, speculate out loud, who is the overarching bad guy here?
Who's to say it's a character? So let me rephrase that. There are a lot of characters in Angel of Death that are not people or angels.
Oh, okay.
Or
so you're talking about.
So how do we know that the overarching bad guy here isn't time or fate or something like that? Because that's what a lot of these angelic type characters are working toward. Is they're working against and toward fate. So it's a double-edged sword, and the Earth, the mortals on Earth, don't realize it, but they're also working toward and against fate. It's very combative in a way that they don't know. So the big battle that you are referring to, it will come. I will tell you, that doesn't spoil anything. It will be down the line, because obviously you have to build to something. So the big thing is, what is the goal of the battle? Not necessarily who is the one in charge of it and forcing it along, but what is the goal? What's the end game of having such a big battle between these 3 realms?
Only thing if you look at it...
See how I turn those tables?
Yeah, you did a good job on that. I like that. Only way to look at it is, if fate doesn't have a wielder, it's basically he got the weekend pass, so to speak, to just go out of its skull.
Yeah.
Why not take the power it has, since it's not being controlled, and basically reset the board? But cannot do it alone. Needs, creatures and humans are getting ready to have a fight. This is a perfect excuse to sit there and work behind the scenes to not only undermine the angels, but also the dark angels at the same time.
There's no real answer for it until you get there.
Now, all the characters are moving in a certain direction, whether bad, good, indifferent, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yet, this it could be fate. It could be the Earth Guardian. Well, whoever it is, and it makes him wonder what that character really is.
And I purposely made it elusive, because again, going back to Middle Earth, if you know who the bad guy is, you're gonna steer clear. And you're gonna, as you're reading it even, you're gonna be like, oh, she shouldn't be with him or he shouldn't be with her because that's the bad guy. But if you don't know, and it could be anybody, you're like, wait, does this mean Aezra is going to be the devil? Does this mean that Elias is the Earth Guardian? It's the question, and it's what keeps the intrigue going. That's why I frame it that way, and you won't really know, unfortunately, until like 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
Who and what is actually at work here. So that'll wrap it up for this one. We hope to see you tomorrow for another character development discussion for the celebration of the Angel of Death series. And of course, go on to StevieJoAuthor.com, order the books, and join us at LexCon the 23rd through the 26th. And we will see you tomorrow.
Catch up on the Angel of Death series today. The first 4 entries are now available directly at StevieJoAuthor.com.